Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Sadhu, sadhu. So today we will be taking a very small sutta, but it is a kind of a reminder for us that how important this practice is. So that is the reason I have taken that sutta. And also I will have another sutta to kind of elongate the point. It is also a unique sutta, which is a Sanskrit sutta, which is I found out just today that there are suttas which are there only in Sanskrit. Maybe they were kind of derivative where they had taken from the suttas and kind of taken the parts, and but this information is kind of valid and it is correct information, but it is in a presented in a very kind of a without any it is very simplified way it is presented. So it kind of means complements this sutta. So it's a very small sutta and it has a very profound message. The sutta is called Samyutta Nikaya 56.35, 100 spears. And that is the spears for war and hunting. They use spears. So it is called 100 spears. The Buddha starts the teaching, bhikkhus. Suppose there were a man with a lifespan of 100 years who could live 100 years. Someone would say to him, "Good man, in the morning they will strike you with 100 spears. At noon they will strike you with 100 spears. In the evening they will strike you with 100 spears." So now the Buddha is saying that if you had a life and if you had 100 years of life, and somebody said that somebody will come and in the morning will kind of means hit you with 100 spears, and then in that same thing they will do in the afternoon, and then they will do it in the evening. So that means that this is just a hypothetical person where the pain of 100 spears is kind of you are supposed to visualize that how much pain a person would suffer if somebody would come in the morning and spear. Obviously, a human being cannot survive this pain, but this is a kind of a hypothetical situation of the pain, amount of pain a person may feel in the morning, in the afternoon, and in the night. And one other thing is the 100 years Buddha has used is also because of the lifespan in this era is supposed to be 100 years. In many areas, they can be less than this, where the Shila is not followed well, then the lifespan is less. And in other times, the lifespan is more, and it can be up to 100,000 years. And when the next Buddha will come, Maitreya Buddha, that time, I think it will be 80,000 years or 100,000 years, the lifespan will be there. And they would kind of be very much keeping their Shila. So it will be very easy for them to kind of attain awakening, because Shila is one part of the teaching. So he says that, and you, good man, being struck day after day by 300 spears, will have a lifespan of 100 years. So you will not die from that spears, but have a lifespan of 100 years. Will live 100 years. Then after 100 years having passed, you will make the breakthrough to the four noble truths, to which you have not broken through earlier. So Buddha says that after this pain and suffering for a continuous 100 years, you will make a breakthrough to the four noble truths. Breakthrough to the four noble truths is meaning that you will understand what the four noble truth is in the true sense. That would be becoming an ariya. That can be considered as a sotapanna also, or above. So when you are understanding this completely, the four noble truths, then without ignorance, you are considered a arahant. So Buddha does not say the what attainment you will have, but he is giving an indication that you will definitely become an arya. That is at least sotapanna you will become. It is fitting, bhikkhus, for a clansman intent on good to accept the offer. For what reason? So the Buddha says that even if it takes 100 years of this painful process, then also it is good. You have to accept, because this samsara is without discoverable beginning. So one thing about the teaching of the Buddha is that we do not believe in the infinite thing, like the eternal life. The Buddha says that the past which was there, when we try to examine in the past, we cannot find a discernible beginning. One example the Buddha gives is there are 4 bhikkhus who sit to look at the past lifetimes. They are so good that in a one day they can recollect 100,000 lifetimes. So they do this activity day after day for 100 years non-stop. But at the end of this 100 years, they have still not discerned the beginning lifestyle. The beginning of life. So this process is that it is not discernible that when the this samsara, cycle of samsara has started. And in this cycle of samsara, what has happened? He gives an example that because this samsara is without discernible beginning, a first point cannot be discerned of blows by spears, blows by swords, blows by axes. So the Buddha says that because this samsara lifestyle is so long, you will not be able to find out that when you had the first axe blow, when you had the first spear blow, and the number of times you had this kind of feeling. One of the examples the Buddha gives is to explain the lifetime we have spent as human beings, is that if we were to kind of collect the tears which we had shed for our relatives, then all the oceans of the world can be filled with those tears. So that many times we have come, and that many times we have kind of shed tears in our being. So there is a long lifetime we have spent. And even though this may be so, because I do not say that the breakthrough to the 4 noble truths is accomplished by suffering or displeasure. So Buddha says that even though I have given the example of somebody having 100 years of suffering, this is not achieved by suffering. So the Buddha is saying that, and even though this may be so, because I do not say that the breakthrough to the 4 noble truths is accomplished by suffering or displeasure. Rather, the breakthrough to the 4 noble truths is accomplished by happiness and joy. So the Buddha is saying that the process of awakening comes through happiness and joy. That means that by having this open mind and mind of smiling, what the Bhante Vivalramsi is kind of teaching, the 6 R, that is recognize, release, relax, re-smile. So this smile and being a light mind is required for you to kind of discern and get the wisdom and gain insight into what the samsara is, how it is functioning. So that what the Buddha is saying, that rather the breakthrough to the 4 noble truths is accomplished only by happiness and joy. And then you can consider the all the jhanas also. The first jhana has joy in it. Then the second, third, fourth, and all the arupa jhanas also has tranquility and equanimity. And all those factors are joyous factors. They are not painful. Even the last stage of nothingness is there. There also equanimity is there, which is kind of considered to be very comfortable. So this whole process of the Buddha is showing that it is accomplished by happiness and joy. And he's talking about the 4 noble truths. What 4? The noble truth of suffering, the noble truth of the arising of suffering, the noble truth of the cessation of suffering, the noble truth of the way leading to the cessation of suffering. So the Buddha says that we have to break through to this 4 noble truth. Therefore, because an exertion should be made to understand this is suffering. An exertion should be made to understand this is the noble truth of the arising of suffering. An exertion should be made to understand this is the noble truth of the cessation of suffering. An exertion should be made. This is the way leading to the cessation of suffering. So that four things we have to make effort to know. And there's the next sutta which I am saying is giving an explanation of the Four Noble Truths. This is the Sanskrit discourse, the Four Noble Truths, Catvāry-Ārya-Satyāni, the discovering giving analysis for the topic. So this is a Sanskrit this thing. I have given a link at the bottom. So that link is at the bottom of the sutta which is there. So this sutta was translated by Bhikkhu Ananda Jyoti. So this sutta is also very interesting. So I'll read this sutta. Hearing monks, what are the Four Noble Truths? They are as follows: the noble truth of suffering, the noble truth of the arising of suffering, the noble truth of the cessation of suffering, the noble truth of the path leading to the cessation of suffering. The noble truth of suffering, hearing. What is the noble truth of suffering? So the first is asking, what is the noble truth of suffering? Over here, the Buddha says the birth is suffering. So many people kind of are not able to understand that how difficult the birth is. And in Buddha's suttas, they have mentioned that the person will not be born once again in a womb. That womb means that it can be an animal womb, it can be a human womb, but being in the womb can be so difficult. I was just randomly seeing some documentary many years back in Discovery Channel. And it showed the whole process of in the womb when the child is there. When the child is there in the womb, he has to stay in a confined space. He has consciousness over there. He is suffering. He cries in the womb. He has to kind of defecate in the womb itself. And that whatever feces and everything is there, it is there still in the womb around here. And that is also recycled and again comes back to the baby as food. So we are not aware of all those things. These are scientific facts. This is not a kind of a religious fact. It's a scientific fact that the suffering of the child in the womb is such great. And that is the reason the birth which is there is considered to be suffering. So that is an important factor to understand. Old age is suffering. As we see that whenever there is expansion of life, the life goes on, there is some certain things which comes up. There are pains and aches, and there are certain things which you could eat, you cannot eat. There are certain things you can do, you can then you will not be able to do. The flexibility kind of reduces. People are kind of trying to extend their life. In California, there is a whole society, a group of people who are kind of wanting to escape the life. They eat a lot of vitamins, they have exercise, they have whatever is possible as per the current scientific this thing. But still that what happens is that the lifespan kind of goes on, and that death is coming near, and nobody can escape the death. So old age is suffering, because there is a lot of things which has happened because of this. Your body kind of deteriorates, and it may deteriorate at a different rate. Now they have another concept that your biological age is say 70. Sorry, your normal age is 70, but your biological age is 50. But still that age will grow. Again, you may be calendar age may be 90, but you may be 70. But you will not be able to stop that. So that is the reason always this concept of old age will give you suffering. Sickness is suffering. So whenever there is sickness, you will feel pain, aches, and then you certain things you cannot just avoid. There are certain colds which are happening. There are no medicines for that. You have to just wait for the 3 days or 7 days. There is 7 days flu is there, or 3-day flu is there. Then you have to wait for 3 days to get that over. There's nothing you can do. So the illness can also, sickness which is there is suffering. Death is suffering. Nobody kind of can say that they are not worried about death. One of the things again of California, somebody was talking about, a monk was talking about that there is a new process which has been introduced in California, in the state, that there are certain people who kind of write a will and everything, and their relatives will be notified if they are in a old age home that a certain person has died. What the relatives will do is they will give a agency a call. That agency person will come, take the body, cremate it, and they will have booked a venue. Oh, I am not using psychic powers or anything. The light went out. Right. Pause the video. Electricity has gone. So there is a small light I have, so I am using. So what would happen is they would have a venue booked for the relatives. The relative will come to the venue. Celebration of life. So we are celebrating the life of such and such person, and that ashes after the cremation will be brought to that venue. That ashes will be kept, and then they will have the dinner, conversations, and they will have celebration of life. And the whole process, the word death is removed. So there is such a fear of death that they don't want to mention it. They don't want to acknowledge death, that death is possible. So that the suffering of death is very real. One person, when he's passing away, he really suffers a lot, unless he is an anagami or a arahant, then or a arya, he will find it difficult to kind of let go of this body, because that is the only body we kind of have in memory. So death is suffering. Being parted from what is liked is suffering. So being parted from whatever you like is suffering. It can be a pen, it can be a piece of paper also. If you had a attachment to it, when you that thing kind of goes away from you, then there is suffering. So the Buddha also says that you have to kind of recollect every day that whatever is there is subject to being robbed, being destroyed in fire, being kind of destroyed in floods, and it can kind of decay, and it are impermanent. So whatever you have in your life as possessions, that is also a source of your dukkha, because whatever you like at one time, because the universal law is that everything is impermanent. That means that whatever you had or you have will one day kind of go away from you. So that is a part of suffering. Being joined to what is not liked is suffering. Like anything which you do not like you did not like heat, and suddenly the temperature changes. If you did not like cold and that it is cold, that kind of causes suffering. If you are touched by, say, there is mosquitos, or they sting you, that is not unlikable. So that is suffering. So anything you meet which is not liked, that is again causing you suffering. Not to obtain what obtain that which is wished for and sought for is suffering. So sometimes we have kind of wishes for X thing, like somebody has a wish for a certain model of car, which is kind of unaffordable. Normally, we have wishes for things which are unaffordable. We see that somebody X is driving such and such car. So we said we should have that car, or we should have that kind of a dress, or we should have that kind of a food, or we should have that kind of a house. So whatever you wish for, but you cannot get, that also kind of gives you suffering. So in total, in brief, the 5 components of the mind and body that provide fuel for attachments are suffering. So 5 aggregates which are there, which those are called suffering. One is the form. Form is rupa. It can be material, or it can be an impression. So whatever is rupa, so this rupa which is there, that is a cause of suffering, because whatever is the body is there, that body kind of has a certain amount of image, and that image kind of causes dukkha. Sensations, feelings. Feeling is not feelings like emotions, but feeling. That is Vedana. So when the Vedana is there, then you have the like or dislike, and that creates the craving, and then that creates another cycle of death and beginning and death. So that is also a cause of suffering. Perception. So whenever a feeling is there is a perception. I like it, I don't like it. So that perceptions create problems for us. So like food is there. So you can see that in food, that some people like sweets, and some people like sour things, and some people like chili, and some people like umami. So there would be a different taste of certain things people will like. And that will kind of create suffering, because the food which is there is not according to your liking or something like that. And those likings which are there are generated through perceptions. And then perceptions are there in everything, because perception is the basic fundamental lens through which we look at every aspect of our life. So it starts with the feeling, and feeling is pleasant or unpleasant. And the craving for it starts because I like it and don't like it. A concept comes. Because of that, the clinging concepts comes from why I like it, and all the thoughts which are there for why I like this and why I don't like it. Because of that, there is a habitual tendency. If this happens, I will do that. So if I see a good cake, then I will go towards that shop to consume that cake. That will create a birth of action. Action is that buying of the cake. When you have the cake, then you have joy at the time of the cake. That is the gratification one feels. Then the danger is that in that there is a death. That means that the cake is impermanent. So it ends. So that cycle of which is there is ending. That is the death of that cycle. So that thing happens because it starts with the perception. Then mental activities is all the that is formations or sankhara. Sankhara is very difficult to explain, but in short, we can say thoughts. So all the thoughts which are there is linked to the clinging process. So we in our thoughts kind of make up justifications and actions what we are going to do, and that kind of creates a cycle where we are stuck in our needs, our wants, our expectations. That expectation is that this, if I have this, and then that will give me a satisfaction. So one way of thinking is that somebody who say is a middle class person says that if I have a bungalow and this thing, I'll give you a story which was given by Osho. That was very good story. He says that there is a man who is very poor, and he is there living on the streets. He says, oh, if I had a roof on my head, I would be so happy. So some person hears him lamenting, and he says, okay, he's a very rich person, so he gives him a small house, and he has the room. So after a few days of being happy, he becomes kind of accustomed to the room, accustomed to sleeping on the floor without problem. There is rain is there, he does not have to worry. If there is heat, he does not have to worry. He becomes accustomed to that life. Then what happens is that he says that, oh, I should have furniture. He sees the neighbor has furniture and everything. Then he said, okay, I want furniture. So the rich guy kind of buys him furniture. Then after that, he becomes accustomed to furniture. He says, if I have to go to market, I have to travel a lot. If I had a car or a bike, I can go. So he was given a bike. Then he asked for a car. Then he asked for a bigger bungalow. Because wherever you are, at any point, there is somebody who has more. So over here, we can see that Forbes, they have a list of richest persons. They are kind of not very accurate, but they kind of say that, say, Jeff Bezos was the richest person. And then Elon Musk would be kind of saying that I want to have more than Jeff Bezos. Maybe that time I will be happy. And Elon Musk actually has more than him. But will that give happiness? No, he would want even more, because there is certain point of time, whatever you have becomes the baseline. So for Elon Musk, the baseline may be whatever 100 billion or 150 billion he has. That becomes the baseline. And then he will strive for something more. So even if he goes to say, he says that, okay, I will make all this, my company successful, and I will have 500 billion. Then that becomes his base. And then he will go to for a 1 trillion, that I want to become the world's first trillionaire. So whatever comes up, that you go to the next and next and next. So those things happen through the thoughts, the activity of mental activity. Those things kind of don't allow you to kind of stay, because you do not understand how this mental activity has started. Because you believe in your thoughts, you kind of trust your thoughts because they pop up in your head, you take ownership of it, and by taking the ownership of it, you kind of are prisoners to it. So one of the things Osho used to say also is that it is like somebody who is in a prison, who was born in a prison, and knows that everybody is saying that I want to get out of prison, I want to get out of prison. So he also kind of learns that word, that I want to get out of prison, I want to get out of prison. But one day somebody comes and opens the prison door. Then he does not understand that the escape lies beyond that prison. So he just wants to stay in that prison, because that is the one he kind of knows. In that same way, the mind kind of makes a prison for you, and you are not examining that how this was made. So you stay in that cycle. So that is the examination which is saying. And on the top of it is consciousness. The last is vijnana, that is consciousness. Vijnana is the reason why we are aware of whatever is happening. So that is kind of the whole space under which we operate. Without consciousness, we will not be able to have thoughts or perceptions or sensations or formations. So consciousness is required for that, because in dependent origination, after consciousness, there is an nama rupa. And after that, there are the 6 sense bases. So consciousness starts the play of the whole body and mind. So consciousness are the main reason for all your suffering. So this was said to be the noble truth of suffering. So this is Buddha is saying about the the causes and conditions for suffering. Then the noble truth of the arising of suffering. What is the noble truth of the arising of suffering? It is as follows. It is that craving that leads to continuation of existence. So now what distinction we have to make is, it is saying that it is the craving that leads to the continuation of existence. That craving itself is leading, but there is a craving which leads to the continuation of existence. So there is also a craving which leads to the end of the existence. That is the chanda, which is saying is mentioned in many of the sutras, is the craving for the awakening of nibbana, because without that craving you will not be able to put in efforts. To end craving also we need to have craving, but it is directional. So which direction you are going for? If you are going in the direction of samsara, then the samsaric activities will continue. If you are going in the direction of nibbana, then you will work towards your awakening. So that is how it happens, which is connected with enjoyment and passion, greatly enjoying this and that. So when you have a craving for continuation of existence, it is connected to enjoyment and passion. Passion is that you want something with fever. So you want something which is like you want it a lot. Greatly enjoying this and that. Greatly enjoying this and that is you enjoy things which are whatever is available. Like one of the things Anuruddha was asked, because he stayed in Devaloka for a long time. So somebody asked rather rudely that you have stayed in the Devaloks for a long time. What is the experience? So the Aniruddha said that the experience of living in Devaloka is like a person who has the stick for carrying honey to the market. He has gone to the market and coming back with the stick, and the stick which had the honey hanging from it, the jaggery or a honey which was hanging for the stick. That stick, there are a lot of flies, house flies, which come and sit on the stick. And the merchant is walking through villages and walking through markets. And the house flies stick to that stick and enjoy the sweetness of the honey or the jaggery. Now, that is the position of devas, who kind of enjoy and go from one place to another, not knowing where they are. So in that way, the thing is that you enjoy this and that, means whatever is available, that you seek enjoyment in that. And that also creates a continuing factor for the samsara to go on. This is said to be the noble truth of arising of suffering, and that becomes the cause and condition for the arising of suffering. The noble truth of the cessation of suffering. What is the noble truth of the cessation of suffering? Whatever craving there is, which leads to continuation of existence, which is connected with enjoyment and passion, greatly enjoying this and that, it's abandonment without remainder. So you abandon those things which kind of create the enjoyment, create that passion, create that attachments. So those attachments, when you are abandoning without remainder, letting go, wasting away, destruction, fading away, cessation, stilling, disappearance. So a lot of words have been used to describe the process by which you let go of the cravings. So one way of doing it is through the meditation, by finding how the mind's attention is moving from one thing to another, how it is impersonal, and how we are creating suffering for ourselves, and how dependent origination is linked to the process of this whole dukkha which we are creating. When we are seeing that it is impersonal, it is not me, it is not mine, it is not myself, those thoughts, it is easier to let that go. that cravings, it is easier to let that go when you are knowing that this is not me, this is not mine, this is not myself. When that craving arises, then it is easier to let go of those cravings, and you are gaining insight into how it is impersonal. Why? Doing the meditation. So by doing that meditation and finding that connection which is there, that craving which is there has to be abandoned without remainder. That means that when it is abandoned in a way that it will not arise once again, then there is no way another being can be born. At the time of passing away, if there are no cravings for the next life, there are no craving for next becoming, then it is not possible for the consciousness to travel. So even an anagami has certain amount of attachments to celestial life, and that is the reason he is reborn in a Brahmaloka, and in the Brahmaloka he kind of understands and develops his mind further, and from there he is released from the samsara. So you let go, waste away, destruction, fading away, cessation, stilling, and disappearance. So you have to, this craving you have to remove. And by removing this craving, you will be able to achieve the noble truth of the cessation of suffering, and the noble truth of the practice leading to the end of suffering. So the noble truth leading to the end of suffering. So this is herein, what is the noble truth of the practice leading to the end of suffering? It is the eightfold path, beginning with the right view and so on. We say harmonious perspective. So the eightfold path which is there are the harmonious perspective, harmonious imaging, harmonious communication, harmonious movement, harmonious lifestyle, harmonious practice, harmonious observation, harmonious collectedness. That is said to be the noble truth of the practice leading to the end of suffering. So we will just go a little bit on the this eightfold path. It is called right view normally, and we call it harmonious perspective. So it starts with what perspective we are using for life. Are we using the perspective that life is suffering and there is no escape and everything is suffering, or we are using the perspective that there is suffering in life? So if there is suffering, then there can be happiness also found in this life, and that happiness can be found through the practice. So when you have the right perspective, then we can have the right thoughts. Then that is called the harmonious imaging. So Bhante Vimalaramsi says that what are the image you are having in your mind? You are having an image of a happy life, or you are having an image of suffering? Do you have an image of poverty, or if you have an image of wealth? So the simplest explanation of wealth the Buddha has given is to be satisfied with what you have is the greatest wealth. So if a person has a house, a one room, and is able to kind of avoid the rain and sunshine, the heat and the cold, and flies and the snakes and everything by staying, and then he says that this is what I am satisfied with, then he is more happy than somebody who is living in a mansion and kind of plotting to buy an island. So even though he's in an island, he is creating his suffering because he does not have his island. So what image you are keeping in your mind? Then right speech, which is called harmonious communication. How do we communicate? So what is the communication we are doing to others? Is it with metta? Is it with a smile we are communicating with others? How are we communicating to ourselves? Are we kind of blaming ourselves, saying that what an idiot you are, you did not do this, or what are you kind of always thinking in the back, and I should have done this, I should have not done that? Or are you saying that this everything which is done is through ignorance, and you are forgiving yourself, you are being sending metta to yourself, and being understanding to yourself, because whatever is happening happens because of ignorance, because you are not knowing what was the whole facts. Because of that, you have taken some action. So in the past, whatever actions you have taken, you forgive yourself. In the present, you try and be full of metta to yourself and the others. And whatever happens, you be in the future, you keep accepting. There are certain times the Buddha said that there are times are very tough, and you have to say to yourself that the karma is very strong. You have to certain times suffer in certain situations. So you say the karma is very strong at this time. So those are times you have to kind of go through and soldier through this situation also. So that is how you use your communication skills to yourself and others. The right action, or whatever action you are taking in life. The Bhante says that it is harmonious movement of the mind. So how does our mind goes from one thing to another, and how you can recognize it and let it go and bring it back, and you keep your mind in the movement of your mind in harmony with our goals. And then right livelihood. Right livelihood is what are the things you are doing to earn your living, which is like not to deal in poison, not to deal in weapons, not to deal in animal stock, not to deal in slaves. So those things are livelihood. But Bhante kind of expands it and says it is harmonious lifestyle. What kind of lifestyle you are living? Are you living a lifestyle of charity? Are you living a lifestyle of Shila? And are you living a lifestyle of metta, giving away or smile, giving karuna, mudita, and upekha away to the people who are around you? So that is the lifestyle. Right endeavor or harmonious practice. Harmonious practice is also considered to be the steps which you are doing 6 hours. That is how we practice. The harmonious practice is to recognize what is the mind's distraction, letting go of what is distracting, not fighting with it, relaxing your tension and tightness which was created through your mind's movement, then re-smiling, bringing something wholesome, then returning to whatever you are doing. In the life, you return to whatever task you are doing. You're on the computer, you return to your computer. If you are doing something else, you return to something else. If you are meditating, you're returning to metta, you return to metta. Then you repeat when only needed. So you don't have to overuse the 6 hour also. You use it when it is needed. So that is how the right effort or right endeavor comes about, which is harmonious practice. Right mindfulness. Bhante says right harmonious observation. Harmonious observation is the observation of the mind's movement, of the mind from one thing to another, and recognizing, remembering to recognize how the mind's attention is moving from one thing to another, how it is impersonal, and how it the dukkha we are creating. Wherever dukkha is created is whatever is there, you fight with it. So you have a cold room, then you fight with that temperature. If it is hot, then you fight with that temperature. If it is very the temperature is very kind of temperate, it is according to your temperature, then you will fight with whatever is another thing is that you may fight with sound or something other than that. So wherever you are fighting with the truth, if there is pain and you do not like it, then that creates a dukkha. Pain is a reality, and there is no escape from physical pain, because we have a body. Physical pains are a reality. But when we are kind of fighting with the physical pain, it is like we are creating another on top of that physical pain, we are creating dukkha. It is like an arrow which is stuck, that creates physical pain, but all the lamentation, sorrow which is there, it creates the dukkha. So we can not avoid the physical pain, but we can avoid the dukkha which is created. So that is how you have to use the right mindfulness or right harmonious observation. Right concentration is harmonious collectedness. Now, concentration can be misused, saying that we have to be totally absorbed in the object of meditation. So thus, Bhante says that you have used the word collectedness. When your mind is collected on an object, you have a certain amount of flexibility, and it is not kind of getting absorbed in that object of your so you will be able to look at that object and learn from that object. Our aim in meditation is not to be in meditation for a long time, just in calmness or just in equanimity. But by using our collectedness, calmness, and equanimity, try and find out what is happening over there, how it is moving, how your mind's attention moves from one thing to another, how you are creating the dukkha. So that is our aim, to get knowledge and vision. Vision is what you see, and the knowledge is what you gain from that as wisdom. So this wisdom, when we are gaining from our meditation, that is when we can kind of get rid of certain things and move on. So like there are 10 fetters which are there, Buddha says that there are 10 fetters. When you are becoming a Sotapanna, there are 3 things you let go of. One is that this path will lead to the doubt which you have, that this path will lead to the Nibbana. That is, you are letting go of that doubt. The second thing is that you let go of the concept that by doing rituals and observances, you will be achieving awakening. Like saying, going and dipping your head in this water or that water, or giving flowers or gifts to such and such deity, or by performing such and such rituals, you will be able to achieve Nibbana. That concept you kind of totally give away. And the third is that you get insight into the impersonal nature of the being, how this process of the mind's attention is moving from one thing is impersonal. You kind of know for sure that it is not me, it is not mine, it is not myself, it is happening on its own. Then you can be sure that you have attained the level of Sotapanna. Buddha says that if you are maintaining the 5 precepts, and you kind of contemplate on the 3 things which are there, which is the Buddha Dhamma Sangha, which is explained in Itipiso, then you will be able to say that you have attained Sotapanna, and you can be sure that you will move on, and not more than 7 births you will be having. So one other thing is that Buddha says that you have to look for in your mind itself that what is happening. If your mind, you have unwholesome thoughts, you know that your mind has unwholesome thoughts. If you look at the mind and say there is wholesome thoughts, then you know that those thoughts are wholesome. So those things can be discerned by yourself. There is no external force which will give you awakening, and there is no external force, or there is no external person who can say that you are awakened or you are not awakened, because it is a personal investigation. Only a person will be able to say, unless a person has a psychic powers, which is kind of difficult to kind of say that if a person has a psychic power or not. But if you can see your mind and say that it is wholesome, and my mind has anger in it, so you know that I am not an anagami. You know that there is a lust for say food or clothes or temperature or comfort or anything. You have a lust for something, then you know that you are not an anagami. So you will know for yourself by looking at your mind that what you are. Nobody from outside can say that how your mind is functioning. You will be able to know, so you don't need an external force or somebody, third party, to kind of tell you what is the situation with your mind. This is said to be the noble truth of the practicing leading to the end of suffering. So by practicing this 8-fold path, and understanding the Four Noble Truths by the following of the Eightfold Path, you will be able to bring an end to suffering. So the Buddha also says that if you are having faith in the Buddha and you are practicing, you are a Dhamma faith follower. Then if you are doing study, like you are coming over here, you are listening to suttas, and by reflective acceptance, then you are a Dhamma follower. Reflective acceptance means that you think about it and say, oh, this seems to be correct. That is a place where you are analyzing the teaching and then accepting it. Reflective acceptance. That reflective acceptance of the Dhamma teaching makes you a Dhamma follower. And if you are going beyond that and gaining insight, then you are a Sotapanna. So all of those things, faith follower, a Dhamma follower, and a Sotapanna are said to be at the time of passing away, at least will not have more than 7 lives. So if you practice, you have faith, and you have a reflective acceptance of the Dhamma, then your mind's inclination has changed. Say if there is a ship going in the sea in a straight direction, that ship has a small diversion, okay? It inclines towards left or right. Whatever it does, at some point of time, it will come back and be 180 degrees and going in the opposite direction. So in that same way, when you are coming in touch with the Buddha's teaching and have faith in the Buddha, or with his teachings, you kind of analyze and accept, reflective acceptance is there, or you break through to the concepts of anicca, dukkha, anatta, then what happens is you kind of change your inclination of mind, and slowly your mind will go towards Nibbana. When you are going non-stop towards samsara, you can turn this ship around and go towards Nibbana and achieve the goal of the holy life. So this is the teaching, which is a small teaching, but it is very powerful, and it kind of gives a summary of what we are saying, that we have to do it in a way which is not painful. You can do it with smile, and you can do it with metta. There are certain things which happen in the meditations, like painful feelings and everything, but you have to overcome, and you can go ahead. So if there are any questions, we will be ready for questioning.
It is a Sanskrit sūtram and written after Buddha.
So yeah, but this is kind of giving a summary kind of thing. So there is nothing new which is said in this. This teaching which is there has all been there in the Dhammacakkappavattana Sutta. This is the same thing that has been given text. So there is nothing. But yes, what you are saying is correct.
Next, it is considered to be a philosophical sūtram in Sanskrit.
That is also correct. There are a lot of philosophical things in the Sanskrit thing, but there may be certain suttas which may be kind of, they're just giving a summary of what is in the suttas, and kind of distilling it into a consumable fashion, because this is a very simple way of presenting. So that can be also part of those.
In what way it is related to Abhidhamma by Asanga and others have shown this particular sūtram in their books, in their Abhidhamma books. Asanga and they belong to Afghanistan. Asanga and his brother, someone is there from Mahayana, and those two people have written Abhidhamma book, and this particular sūtram is included in their Abhidhamma.
Correct. So there are certain things which have been generated after the Buddha's time. What he is pointing out is correct, and then many of them kind of a bunch of them were there. So then they kind of put it into one basket, which is the basket of Abhidhamma.
Thank you.
Okay, Maria, you had a question?
Yes, Bante. I was reflecting that, for example, when, let's say, when I am facing an experience, or when I have a choice, right? It is possible to act from a place of, let's say, contentment and experience, right? Like also with sati, right? With intuitive awareness. And the question is that maybe also related to the approach that it is possible not just to suffer, but this other way of living?
Yeah, so what you are saying is that you are first recognizing that you have a violation ability, the ability to kind of choose your action. So once you kind of establish that you have established a huge difference, because people normally don't even acknowledge that they have a point of view and they can choose a point of view. So when you are going into that, you have achieved a very big aspect of the mind. You have kind of recognized the perception. So you say that if I have a choice of acting, I can act in a way which I choose. So that
Yes.
makes a difference. And by doing that, you kind of change the inclination of the mind. When you are doing wholesome things, initially what happens is the wholesome things will generate merit. So when you are generating merit, what happens is there are other wholesome things which kind of come in your way. And that cycle has a positive loop effect. Okay. Then when that positive loop effect has, then there is a ceiling of that earning of merit. So when you have reached that ceiling of earning of merit, then it turns into factors for awakening. So by say giving to the Sangha, say Sanghadana you are doing, there is so much merit you are earning. That merit you cannot even contemplate in if you are giving say a bunch of money. That in money it is ridiculous to kind of even calculate that. There is no that much money in the world that can be compensate for you for that merit which you are earning. Now that merit which is there is then goes to the next factor, which is gives you access to the factors of awakening. And because you get that factors awakening, then you move towards the wisdom, because what factors and conditions come into play, and then you kind of go towards that wisdom part, and then that will give you the eventually the awakening. And that is the ultimate goal of the Buddha, to kind of tell you that this thing which is there in samsara, it may go as good as it can go. Is like as a human life, you can be a world conquering king, and that world conquering king conquers the whole of the land by just marching his army and not fighting, not killing anybody. He is called a Dhamma king. He rules by the rule of the law. He has ministers which are there. He has stewards which are there, which are good stewards are there. He has sons who are kind of powerful and insightful. So all those things are there. That joy and power which is there, that is considered to be, if we consider it as an example, like a stone. That is the happiness and the thing which it's like a stone. If you are reborn as a deva, then that becomes like you have achieved some happiness which is equivalent to the Everest mountain. So then you go up and up and up. You are in a Brahma lokas. Then from Brahma lokas you are going to Arupa lokas. Then Arupa lokas you stay there for 16,000 mahakapas. Then 32,000 mahakapas. Then 64,000 and 84,000 mahakapas. So when you are there in that loka, 184,000 mahakapas is a long time. But if you have not understood this concepts, after this 84,000 mahakapas, you come back again to earth, you may come back to hell because you have used up all your merits. But that is not the kind of thing, the teaching of the Buddha. Teaching of the Buddha is to understand, to gain your wisdom. So when you have gained your wisdom on perspective, you have gained a lot. Because that is the starting point of taking decisions. You were kind of a slave to whatever has happened in the past. Now you are creating your future because you have access to present. When you have access to present, you have access to the results which are there in the future. So you will be able to go there. And even if you don't want to go there where it leads to awakening, because you have in a path or a stream which is wholesome, it will eventually kind of give you insights into what are the benefits of awakening. Then you will get the desire for awakening and then you will go over there. So it starts with having the perspective that I will take a wholesome view and a wholesome action. So that is the start.
Can't we speak after wholesome, that is chanda? The remaining
Chanda is technically not a wholesome thing. It is just a desire. But
the three other points, virya, vimamsa,
direction.
Those four
Your
are
voice
necessary.
is breaking.
Those four are necessary for going towards wisdom.
Yes.
That is what, instead of going roundabout, these four are compulsory in a practitioner to continue his practice in a consistently. This is what I perceived from you.
So even if you do not name and label it, so even if you don't name and label it, you will be able to kind of progress in it, because when you are taking the direction of wisdom, of taking a direction of perspective, and you are having a clarity of perspective and clarity of taking action, then when you go to wholesome, even if you don't name those things, it will happen. Because like a chicken sits on the egg and it does not even wish for the egg to hatch, it will hatch because the action has been taken. That is what the Buddha's example is there. So by doing the action, you will get the result, even if you do not know the names and the technical terms for that. Because that is the reason I think Bhante Vimalansi also criticized the Vishuddhimagga and Abhidhamma, because they go into too much technical.
It's okay.
Too much knowledge is
Iddhipada I am speaking. I am only speaking the Iddhipada. The remaining after wholesome state of mind, the three have to work. Otherwise, we cannot go forward. That is what I am conveying. That's all.
Correct. That is
the remaining three aspects.
Yes, that is correct. Okay. But that is what I'm saying, that does not means technical if you do not have that knowledge also. But if you have the actions, it will you have to take the correct actions, and it will take you towards the goal. Is there any other questions? So any question related to meditation on any other thing also you can ask. Okay, then we will end this thing, and we will also share merits with Sister Kima. Jay, you had any question?
No, thank you.
Okay. So when we share the merits, this merits also and may get as much support, health, and strength to kind of go through this difficult period. May suffering ones be suffering free, and the fear struck fearless be. May the grieving shed all grief, and may all beings find relief. May all beings share this merit that we have thus acquired for the acquisition of all kinds of happiness. May beings inhabiting space and earth, devas and nagas of mighty power, share this merit of ours. May they long protect the Buddha's dispensation. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.
Thank you, Bhante.
Thank you. And next week we will have Wednesday. We'll have Dr. Madhusudan ji coming for the Wednesday class. So 7:30. We keep at 7:30 itself, and we will listen. I will join if I am possible, because I am traveling. Maybe 12 or 15 hours I'll be traveling, so I don't know what state I will be in. If I am able to, I'll join in to the Zoom.
Is it India? India you are coming?
Yeah.
Are you coming to India?
Yes, I'm traveling after 2 days. 15th night I travel. So I come on 16th. I come to India. 16th morning. Then I go to Bagdogra, and then from there I have to take a car. So it will be about 16 hours. Okay. Sad. Okay then.
Have a good journey, Bhante. Arrive well.
Sad. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you.